when we're trying to establish symmetry, which is basically the same thing on both sides of a dividing line down the middle, and that's called bilateral symmetry. When we're trying to establish symmetry, and actually, I should write that, shouldn't I? Hold on. I know I have to do it upside down. What up? Okay, I'll see you later then. Okay. All right, so we're going to work on bilateral symmetry. Okay, so whatever happens on one side of the line happens on the other side of the line. So what I did was I got some shapes around that I have just laying around the house. This is a little square, and this is a measuring cup, and I have that, and these are all really like at varying sizes. And then too, I always have the roll of tape because the roll of tape is always a good one to use. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my shapes, but I'm going to reference them on the same kind of thing. So when I'm setting up this square, I'm going to set it up along this side and then along the top. So I have that, and then I'm going to hold it in the middle and trace around it. And I like to have a bunch of different shapes. Oops, I always get my head in there. So I did that square. Now I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to move it to the opposite side of the line to my mirror image, and I'm going to line it back up again, and I'm going to make sure that it's in the same spot, and it is. But I did that because I know, because if I hit it along the top line and the side line, then I know it's in the same spot. And I'm going to trace that out again. And when I'm tracing, I just put my pencil up against the edge of my object and just kind of drag it along it, and I'm doing it really soft. Now sometimes it won't be quite right, and that's cool. Like I have a little taily line down here, but you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just not going to pull that out when I go to do something else. So now I can sit there too, and I can say, okay, symmetry would still be, if I put this circle in the middle of the line, it's still the same on both lines, because half the circle's on one side of the line and half the circle's on the other side of the line. Okay? And you notice when I trace stuff, I hold on to the top of it with just like a couple of fingers and just hold it. All I got to do is keep it from moving. I don't have to have like a whole hand on it or anything. I'll have to be gripping it with a death grip. I just have to do that. Okay, and then I pick that up, and there's my other circle. And I want a bigger circle. I wonder if I have one. So what I have is the same things happening on both sides of those lines. And again, we establish symmetry by saying, oh, you know what? If I do something on one side of the line, I'm going to do it on the other side of the line. So most of the time, I'm going to end up doing two objects, unless, of course, I do something along the middle and just bisect it. And we've got that bi thing going on again. So we talked about bilateral being two lines, and bisecting something is to cut. When you sect something, it's a cut. So there's this. And I'm just overlapping everything, but making sure I do the same thing on each side of the line. And then after I go through and I get all my shapes put down, then I'm going to go back through and pick out which lines I want to keep and which lines I want to get rid of. So we're going to do that. Is that centered? That looks pretty good. The problem is I get my head in the way of the camera if I don't do it this way. So now I think I've figured out that if I just look at the camera, I can see if it's centered. Ooh, look at there. Okay, so I got a bunch of circles going on. What should I do? What should I do? I think I need a large circle or something going on in these areas. Same thing on each side. So once I do something on one side, it kind of works out because then I know I have to do it on the other side. And too, right now, we talked about lining things up. I know if I like line it up against this circle and this circle, and then I do the same thing over there. So basically everything is just in relationship to everything else. The geometry of all of it. What do they do that with? Oh, this circle and that circle. I just have to remember which spot it was. It was this circle, oops, this circle, and this circle. And now I'm getting a crazy, crazy mess going on here, but we'll pull through on this. Okay, so now I have a bunch of baselines written, figured out here. And I'm going to go through and I can pull out some of those lines and leave some of those lines uninked. So that's what we're going to do next. But right now I have basically everything I need to have in order to start establishing that.